Good day to you one and all, whatever time of day it might happen to be to you. Welcome to this Zelda Speedruns presentation of the Link to the Past Randomizer Challenge Cup tournament. This is a round of 16 matchup, Game 3 in a best of 3 series between WGarrison and Worldwide Wimpy. I am MyInDM and I am joined alongside here in the booth by Homemade Beer.
Hey, MyInDM, how are you doing today?
Doing well. We're just getting off one race on ZSR. If anybody was catching that Zen Arcane Yukikaze matchup, and we've got some more rando here for you in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, that was a very exciting finish to that game. Pretty quick seed if you go where the items are. Getting excited for this one.
Well, that's always the trick in any version of the randomizer, isn't it? You just go where the progression is and you finish the seed really fast.
Yeah, easy.
Easy game, easy game. So, as I was saying, again, round of 16, best of 3, game 3. So we've got those two wonderful words that we can say to you, deciding game. The winner of this will move on to the round of 8. We'll be into the quarterfinals. And the loser's tournament is unfortunately over. The winner of this is looking to take on the winner of the Kantos Mr. Scruff Ninja Tuna matchup. So, we'll have more exciting rando coming your way in the future, but right now we're just waiting for the final countdown, our runners to hit this one off.
Do you know if the the other matches have been played, if they're on their game 3?
I am not currently aware of what the standing of that other matchup is at the moment, unfortunately.
Ah, okay.
But our runners have been underway for a hair over 10 minutes here, according to the race room, so with the 10-minute delay that the tournament requires, we should see game screens coming up here in the very near future, and then we'll get going.
So what are you expecting to see today in Escape?
Oh, I don't know. Something kind of fun, but not necessarily easy, like Bow makes for good viewing, I think.
Yeah, Bow's always good. Especially with the Pendant Eastern we just saw.
Always nice to know where your pendants and crystals are bright and early.
Fire Rod. It's kind of like a bow, except it shoots fire.
Yeah, it's another one of those ranged projectile weapons which gets the job done. Unfortunately, sometimes you're a little low on magic and can't always go farming through the prize packs for bombs as much as you might want.
Yeah, and they are in the variety prize pack too, so they have some incentive to want to be able to do that. Unless, of course, they find bombs and escape.
Which seems to have been happening more and more often lately.
Yeah, that's always good.
Kind of feel like I've seen more runners than not lately in these standard starts just pulling bombs out of the first couple of chests and saying, alright, well, now I don't have to worry about the prize pack knowledge anymore.
Yeah, I think the worst thing that kind of can happen is if you know the bombs are in the prize pack, but you don't pull any bombs out of escape and don't get a bomb as well.
Yeah, by that same token, where sometimes the prize pack's just not cooperating with you and it's 50-50 drops, but you don't see any for the first 7 or 8 enemies, and you kind of start wondering, alright, well, have we had something where we've gotten into the null prize pack? And that doesn't happen, but you can just get really, really unlucky sometimes.
Yeah, and speaking of bombs, they found bomb bows, so close.
That's kind of bomb adjacent, I guess. Of course, you need a sword before you can actually light that medallion off. So let's see, we have an option for something here in Zelda Cell. We've already got the small key in hand, and, well, the bomb worries just went away, didn't they?
Ah, there we go.
We have now arrived at the kind of difficult portion of the escape sequence to calm. Our runners will not be seeing another check here for a hot minute, but, this is where the comms get bored and start talking about how pumping works.
Yeah, how does it work?
Well, I'm pretty sure you just mash buttons on your controller and you go faster when you're heading primarily north or west. There's a much more detailed explanation and any number of NMG guides that will talk about it in as much thoroughness as you could possibly desire.
Yeah, there's definitely a multi-page document on Link's walking movement. Yeah, this is looking pretty healthy though for, once they finish Escape, if they head over to Kakariko, they'll have some extra bombs, they'll have enough money for the bottle vendor, be able to clear out a lot of that stuff. I guess, ideally they might find a flute or a bottle on the way out, or even in Kakariko itself.
Yeah, those standard book plays when you haven't been given something more interesting to go do first. It's kind of fun when you get all sorts of things like, say, a glove and a hook shot in the escape sequence, and you say, I wonder if I want to walk out of the sanctuary and just sequence break up the mountain for a hot minute.
Yeah. Nice blue mail there. Won't have to worry as much about health now.
Yeah, speaking of the way the seed's been generous, the blue mail, even though you're on 3 hearts, really makes the light world feel pretty free.
Yeah, definitely. Everything does like half a heart damage after that. Or less, right?
Even the crabs are less immediately worrisome. Those notorious crabs over by Ice Rod Cave that are more than happy to do 2 hearts of damage on green mail as a just random overworld light world enemy because, well, that's the way they roll. They kind of pinch and grab and take your hearts away.
Yeah, they're pretty terrible.
How do you like that early shovel in the back of the escape sequence? If you're going over to the village as part of your kind of next logical play here for density, you can make the check on your way out.
Yeah, just extending the opening sequence a bit, and finding items around Kakariko.
And first, Wimpy and then Garrison are going to go ahead and raid the poor box for 10 sticks. So in the grand scheme of things, we had, a regular pendant at Eastern, and then crystals for the other 2, and 5-6 at Hera?
Yeah, that looks about right.
Of which the only one we can really conveniently walk into right at the moment and do anything is that pendant dungeon. So, you kind of wonder as a runner, alright game, what are you telling me here?
Nice flippers there, just laying in the woods.
Yeah, and both of our runners are already sitting at 350 rupees, so after they pay off the bottle vendor, they'll still be halfway to Zora money.
So what do you think that fire rod's going to be for? Do you think it was just to get out of Escape, or do you think the game's going to use it to require some logical progression later in the seed?
Well, between having access to the back of Skullwoods, access to the boss, and a couple of items on the right side in Turtle Rock, and a potential logical entry requirement to Ice Palace, reasonably can be assumed that we're going to want that for something. It's just kind of a question of when do we get into the Dark World and find out what that something is.
Yeah, it's starting to feel like, with the flippers, it's hinting just a tad bit more over towards Ice Palace. Could be anything so far. We haven't seen very much yet.
That lamp is nice, at least for viewership purposes. We'll have no dark rooms today. Everybody will be able to see what our runners are doing.
Yeah, nice Moon Pearl as well. Nice blind set, really.
Yeah, plenty of good things in stock there. Now, of course, the Moon Pearl and Lamp, we're closer to AGA access to the Dark World than we are anything else right at the moment.
Yeah, I must have missed something that Wimpy ran out of bombs. Did he bomb the back of Escape to leave or something?
I missed that as well. Maybe somebody in chat caught that. Hopefully, maybe P, our wonderful tracker, was paying more attention than the commentators were.
Huh. Yeah, it's really pretty random.
He says, nope. But it's not always the most terrible thing. It's very likely that Garrison's going to have to make that trip to the bomb shop here as well, so Wimpy's not going to be truly giving away time there. Oh, no, well, we'll see, because there were those 3 bombs in the back. I wonder. How do you feel about walking out of here on 2 bombs?
Well, they have a fire rod, but they don't have very much magic, and you want to be able to do mini Moldorm caves, so with that much money, you gotta buy bombs on the way out.
That's pretty much my feeling as well. You know, when you've got something like a hammer, or better yet, a sword, maybe you say, okay, I've got 2 bombs, that'll get me into Mini Moldorm Cave, it'll get me into Ice Rod Cave, or into Agina, and between those 6 checks, whichever of the 6 you're going to pick, hopefully you're going to find a few more bombs there. But yeah, in this case, I think you probably ought to be buying them, and Garrison says, nah, you know what, 2's good.
Yeah, Wimpy, same thing, just pieces out after filling out Blind's Hut.
Going to go for those 50-50 plays there, and also check the shovel where he finds our first bottle of the game.
That's kind of awkward. Just finished up CAC, and there's a bottle.
And Garrison also going to piece out at the race game here, not going to check the shovel spot, not going to have that bottle early.
Yeah, this will work out pretty well for Wimpy here with this routing. By leaving, he can check the race game in the library. He didn't check the race game earlier, did he?
I do not believe so.
Okay.
In fact, it appears he's going to go ahead and blind run it.
Ah, okay. That was the plan. That was the plan all along. And our first glove from the dam.
Always nice to get that. That and the lamp gets you up onto the mountain, although it's only 2 checks and 1 sight check right at the moment.
And opting to not check Sick Kid while he's up in the area.
That's an interesting choice for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll find his way there eventually, so unless there's something major there that's going to be required, maybe for Dark World access or something else, then it won't really be a huge deal.
In general, it feels like you're not going to avoid Village of Outcasts unless both of those dungeons contain our other 2 pendants, so going to be back in the area eventually in most seeds.
Yeah. Yeah, got a pretty big divergence in routing. Wimpy going straight to the flipper checks here. And looks like Garrison got a full magic drop off the bush crab.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting with Garrison going for kind of the standard book play and pulling that sword out of it, while Wimpy is going to go ahead and do flippers first and come back for that South Shore slew of checks later.
Yeah, almost have desert access potentially, depending on the boots. Hey, look, another glove.
Yeah, this seems to be working out for Wimpy, although in a lot of runner situations here, Garrison probably going to be among them, just going to carry the play to Ice Rod Cave and then go right into the flipper checks from there, particularly when you've got 1,000 rupees. Not worried about the Zora play.
So which one of them goes straight to Ice Palace first to get a hammer if it's a pendant?
That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be pretty terrible. Did
I think we may have had a small technical hiccup there on Wimpy's side.
Okay. These guys are just getting bombs like right as they run out every time. It's pretty great.
Sometimes the seed is just going to give you what you need. Every once in a while, trusting the randomizer actually does work. Then, of course, there are those times where you decide that you can skip the front 4 of Pendant Thieves and your Go Mode Ice Rod is in there.
Yeah, well, you know, who wants to go Independent Thieves, really?
Especially without a mirror, but Wimpy, having pulled his second glove out of the dam here, has Dark World access. Not full Dark World access, not going to get in at any of the hammer spots just yet. But it looks like he's going to go ahead and carry this play on through to Agina's Cave, and we may well see a dip into desert here.
So he must have gone dam left then, right? Looks like he did not get swords or anything from any Moldor. Or the sword, rather, that was there.
Yes, this is a dam to Agina play.
Yeah, not a bad play. It's very thorough. Make sure you're not missing something, because a lot of runners will end up forfeiting Agina.
This is actually the situation where I tend to be more against this play and do dam through Ice Rod Cave, because that book will then let you into desert, which you can pair up with Agina to kind of prevent the orphaning of it that might happen otherwise.
Yeah.
But Wimpy does have that book equipped and does seem to be heading over there. You know, again, with the book, you can also have this item off of the ledge if it happens to be anything meaningful.
Just a bunch more cash.
Having already paid off the old scamfish, I can't imagine that he actually walks down there for that, but, you know, I guess there's an outside shot. There are still a few cash checks in the Dark World to make, and after you've paid those off, maybe you only have enough for 1 potion. We'll see what Garrison does here, also acquiring a second glove. This is a perfect save and quit spot. Maybe a trip to the Sanctuary and into the Dark World Village.
Looks like Desert is boots locked here.
That is a hard boots lock in Desert Palace, that big key on the torch.
That was interesting. I wonder if the boots are somewhere relatively early.
Well, at this point we have a lot of options available to us. You know, we can get in over at Village of Outcasts. That fire rod can get us all the way into the back of Skull Woods, potentially. Garrison at least knows where the sword is, so could clear that dungeon out if it happens to be a crystal or if there happens to be an item on the boss. Can also just go down into the Thieves' Town area instead, and there are still those couple of logical checks up the mountain, saving the old man and Spectacle Rock Cave. It would not be the first time that I saw boots just hanging out inside Spec Rock. Wimpy, the first of our runners to break down and actually buy a full pack of bombs.
We knew it had to be done, right? Maybe?
Sooner or later, somebody was going to do it. So I have to say that this is interesting. Wimpy going to go ahead and forego those South Shore and Ice Rod cave checks and instead is into the Dark World. We've got Green Pendant at Skull Woods, a Pendant at the Palace of Darkness, and one of our 5/6 crystals at Mire to pair up with the one at Tower of Hera.
So, yeah, this is actually, I mean, pretty low health. 5 hearts, not the best situation to be in. But with that Fire Rod and the sword on Garrison's side, he could start at Skull Woods and go and full clear that to get the green pendant. If you might be thinking the seed was hinting him towards that with the Fire Rod escape.
That's entirely possible, and unfortunately, from our perspective, he decided to piece out of that shovel check and save and quit out of the race game. Does not have that bottle with red potion in it just yet.
Yeah, that would be really nice for this situation.
Nice additional safety to have. And we do have Wimpy opting for this front of Skullwoods play. And likely Garrison following right along.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if he feels confident in this fight here with Moth. It's a pretty tough fight. No matter what level runner you are. It's not one that you look forward to anyway.
No, certainly not. And if it were a crystal, maybe you consider it a little harder. As a pendant, I would say, no, you know what? This I'm going to go ahead and back off on for the moment.
Yeah, it looks like Garrison backing off immediately and just not even checking yet. So
going to make that play into Village of Outcasts instead. 3 relatively easy overroll checks as long as those moblins don't mob you too badly. While Wimpy's getting a little bullied by those Gibdos in the middle portion heading for the Vanilla Big Key chest of Skullwoods.
Yeah, they can be super annoying. I don't think he has a boomerang, does he? I see that Garrison does.
No, I think that was part of Garrison's South Shore loop.
Ah, yeah, that would have been helpful there too.
And that looks like an intentional death warp there on Wimpy's side, going to go ahead and say, I'd like to have 4 hearts a whole lot better than the heart and a half I was actually sitting on.
Yeah, it looks like he's heading to the back, so going to be able to grab this one chest in the bridge here. But without a sword, cannot cut the curtain in order to fight the boss.
That will be interesting in the situation where Garrison may in the future decide he wants to go back here and clear this out, because I can't imagine that Wimpy is back here if there's not at least an item.
Right.
And finds a 10 bomb pack.
Well, good thing. Well, I guess he just bought those bombs, so.
He just bought those bombs.
Bad timing, in a way.
Garrison has seen enough of thieves, does not want to go to the back without the hammer, even though it is Crystal Thieves, has chosen to opt out after the front 4.
Yeah, I missed if he had gotten a small key in the front or not. I don't think he did. I don't remember seeing it.
And really, whether you have or not, it's an entirely reasonable play. That big chest is one of the harder ones to come back to in the game, I feel.
Yeah, definitely.
So what do you think? Can we go 2 for 2 on ZSR this afternoon in a mirror on the Smith sequence?
I was actually just thinking, I wonder if these guys were watching the last race and going to try and go, get that early Smith out of the way.
I'm fairly sure that I caught both of their names in chat during that race, so they may well have seen that portion.
Yeah, maybe they're thinking the bots are trolling. You're going to roll a siege, you're going to roll another one immediately, and it's going to do the same thing with a couple of key items.
It wouldn't be the first time. Back during the group stage, I saw a day with 3 out of the 4 races that I either played in or watched with a hookshot in its vanilla dungeon. Sometimes the bot just does things like that. We'll pay a little more attention on Wimpy's side here, see if that small key showed up in the front 4. The first one was just a big 20. Everything seems to be coming up big 20s right at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like they didn't find 1,000 rupees at the beginning of the game, so.
Yeah, you found all of the high-value rupee packs. Now you're just down to the red ones. Wimpy's third check, that big key, so unless it was a small key here in the vanilla big key location, and it was not, it was the compass.
Yeah, this is again turning into a situation where without a sword, he couldn't even go back and fight the boss if he wanted to, unless he got lucky with a sword in the back.
A sword or the hammer, or maybe Cane of Samaria. Cane of Burna would be questionable.
Garrison looped Johnny Two Bombs speakeasy there.
Yeah, finds the hookshot in there, which is a nice one. All of a sudden, that's a great deal of mountain access. That's probably his next play here. All of a sudden, light and dark mountain calling his name. Not going to be able to get to Hera just yet with no mirror or no hammer, but you can get over and get the 8 items on the eastern side of Light Mountain with that hookshot. You could get all 6 items on the dark side, find out what that Crystal Turtle Rock's medallion requirement is. All sorts of good reasons for Garrison to be going up here at the moment. Wimpy going to go ahead and say no thank you to that 50 on the dig game. Makes it out before the text box, which Garrison did not.
Better routing for digging.
I mean, it's a non-trivial amount of time. It's a good 4 seconds on that countdown, and then the text box on top of it. Garrison going to make the play here, going up the west side of the mountain first, going to check Spec Rock Cave. This is nice if it happens to be a mirror or a hammer you'd like to know now.
Yeah, we also do know, because Desert is a crystal, that the boots are required. So I'm sure both runners hoping to see those as soon as possible here.
Yep, it always feels good when the boots come out, especially when they come out after a hookshot, at least if you're a runner of my caliber and have no functional hovering ability. And Wimpy is also out of Hype Cave with that hookshot grab. Likely to be following up the mountain. There's Garrison's first bottle, has a bee in it over there in Paradox Cave.
Yeah, I think the Waterfall Fairy was nice enough to give Wimpy a bee as well. Not one of the good bees, though, unfortunately.
Oh, of course not. Not that our runners, I think, would be at all concerned about the ability to turn that in for 100 rupees anymore.
Definitely.
Not really seeing value out of this Paradox Cave, though. Garrison has one more light mountain option here, can also sight check this floating island, but won't be able to get it until the mirror shows up. Not that I guess yet more bombs are actually on his itinerary. To answer the question in chat, why no Ice Palace? Well, without the hammer, it's not full clearable, and Fighter Sword Ice Palace is also kind of awful. So when you have access to nearly the full mountain, I like this play.
Yeah, there's 2 chests on the right side and the boss as well, which are not available without both the hammer and the gloves. But, you know, the gloves are needed to get into Ice Palace.
Okay, so Light Mountain of very questionable value here, but Garrison's going to start making the Dark Mountain checks now as Wimpy slides on over here to the east side of the mountain and is going to start those Light Mountain checks for us.
Yeah, I think so far the main difference we've seen is Wimpy getting the bottle from the dig spot and turning that into the Sick Kid for a piece of heart, and then looting Skullwoods for the 10 bomb pack that he found, whereas Garrison has done Mini Moldorm Cave and Ice Rod Cave, where he found a boomerang and a sword that I'm sure Wimpy will go find soon.
That sword is really the one outstanding piece of progression between them. And it'll be interesting to see again later if Garrison needs to head over to Skull Woods. Is the second item tucked away on the boss there? And if so, he gets to do it in one trip.
It's starting to feel like that's the play, or Thieves Town.
Yeah, is the green pendant something? You know, back of Crystal Thieves, still an option.
I suppose neither of them went to Eastern area yet as well, so.
Yeah, casually leaving that Saha's closet behind for half an hour like you do.
Hey, look, Bombos for TR.
Well, isn't that a surprise? Of course, still a hammer and a Samaria away from even going in, but we've got 4 checks here in Hookshot Cave that may pay out. And the answer is nope, 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 and nope.
Wow,
Nothing.
okay.
For all the hints with those mitts and that hook shot, the mountain just not doing a thing for us today.
I'm going to call Green Pendant on hammer here. It's just that awkward here, the way the seed is laid out for us today. Or hammer on Green Pendant, what did I say?
Garrison's going to go ahead and make the shovel check, probably be reasonably happy with that second bottle in inventory with a little safety if he has to go do Moth here in the near future. And Wimpy is on into these Dark World Mountain checks, which again we know are not really valuable. That neither of our runners managed that hookshot clip there in Super Bunny Cave. It seems easy until you sit down and try and do it, and then I always flub it.
Yeah, that one's harder than some of the other hookshot clips. Probably the hardest one, actually, thinking out loud.
That's why it's quite nice with Quick Swap and the mirror. You can just swap over to mirror real quick and delete that block, and then swap back over to your hookshot and be going on your merry way. But no mirror for our runners yet, so that trick is not available to them.
Yeah, at least they found Berna too, so, you know, if they feel uncertain about doing blind with their loadout, I'm not sure. Like, you know, most runners have the script they can stick to and can usually take no damage. But if the fight gets out of control, it can get pretty hectic very fast, and Burno's a good way out just in case.
Yes, I'm definitely of the persuasion of I'll go ahead and equip Safety Cane and hope not to need it, but I would rather have it at the ready and not need it than need it and be a couple of quick swaps away. Alright, so Garrison has decided that now is the time for the Back of Thieves, while Wimpy seems to have recalled that Thalshore is still outstanding and is going to find his first sword here in a minute.
Yeah, this would probably give him a lot more incentive to go finish off Thieves and consider doing Moth as well. Again, not the funnest fight with whatever 6 or 7 hearts they have, 7 or 8 hearts.
But it is doable, and once you've made it to the round of 16, you start thinking, well, my opponent can probably do this. Do I leave this behind even though I can manage it? I have the skill level. It's not an easy fight. It's not a fun fight, but it may be the fight that's on the table today.
Yeah, there have been some pretty rude seeds, in standard mode that I've seen that, some like required 4 or 5 heart cold stare fights and just stuff like that, which is really terrible. But you got to work on those things. You got to make sure that you can, know that you can do them.
Yeah, at least have enough familiarity with them that you're not just on tilt when you get to the point of, well, I've got to do 5 heart green mail hammer cold stare. Our tracker P helpfully throwing out there that, yes, this is a good time to mention you could follow the runners if you enjoy the show they're putting on for you. WGarrison and Worldwide Wimpy, these round of 16 contestants in their Game 3, the deciding game of their series. My co-com today, of course, is Homemade Beer. I am MindDM and P there on the tracking. Also, Ricky of Kokiri, we will give a special shout out and thanks to, pulling all the technical side here together for this restream.
Yeah, definitely big thanks to everyone putting this on right now and the runners for being restreamed here, putting on the show. And Wimpy making the play.
Yeah, that sword in hand is going to go in here with no hammer and just kind of hope that it shows up or that something else he needs shows up.
Looks like we got a... Oh, go ahead.
That Garrison in the Back of Thieves down here does not have a small key and has the maiden in tow and is going to the boss room, so not going to be missing a hammer here, but not going to be finding one either.
Yeah, also, a bit of logic for what we saw is that, he found a heart piece in the attic, which isn't progression or anything, but the small key in the big chest does mean the attic item and the blind item are both hammer locked, so...
And, well, Wimpy has gone into Ice Palace, and there you are, first chest hammer, like you do sometimes, game.
Well then, we found out what the fire rod was for.
Yes, we did. Yeah, Bombos could have gotten you there as well, but fire rod is certainly on the table for having paid out now. And that is Garrison putting his first crystal on the board at 36 minutes and change. That is our first crystal of the match between the two runners. Now here in the next room on Wimpy's side, we're going to see an old friend. We have no Cane of Samaria in inventory right now, so we are going to see the good old-fashioned Ice Palace bomb jump. Ooh, he hit it second try, but then he fell off rather than lifting the pot. That's unfortunate.
Ooh. Yeah.
Not always the easiest trick to set up. You do want to be up against the edge of that pit there. The spin slash setup for bomb jumps does yeoman's work in that trick. In that room, you can set yourself up a little more readily.
Yeah, it's pretty much double pixel perfect trick. There are some setups that are slightly less pixel perfect, but
there's not a great deal of leeway.
Yeah, definitely. It's either double pixel perfect, or the other setup has 2 pixels of leeway on the where you can stand after laying the bomb.
So let's see where Wimpy wants to go now. Of course, we have Garrison here clearing out Skullwoods. Seems like Wimpy may have the back of Thieves Town on the brain now with that hammer, knows that there's absolutely no problem full clearing this. Garrison using that boomerang, having had more than enough of being bullied by those Gibdos. Was not an option that Wimpy had while he was in that room because he had not yet gone to South Shore at that point. Garrison now headed to the back of Skull Woods, and, well, wouldn't you know it, he has a sword, so if he wants Moth, Moth is on offer to him.
Yeah, we might get to see that fight. There's they're both items are back here, I believe, right?
I'm fairly sure you're correct, but in any event, it's the green pendant, so there's something potentially of value there for killing the Moth. And Garrison is a little healthier than Wimpy was when he was in the area. Of course, Wimpy was lacking the sword, so we'll never know if he really wanted to give the boss a try on his current heart count or not, but
Yeah.
Garrison has found that red potion and has, what is that, 9 hearts now?
Yeah, a lot better than he would have been. I think he came in with 6 the first time through. And of course, the blue mail helps a lot.
Blue mail cuts down the damage from the Moth, but not the damage from the spikes, and, you know, it's a question that each individual runner has to answer. Which of these am I better at avoiding? So we're going to see this Fighter Sword Mothula battle.
Yeah, good luck. See how he does here. I'm a little bullied by the spikes like coming out, a lot at a time.
Yeah, there's a lot of spike movement going on here that is not treating Garrison well at all. That's the end of Garrison's magic bar and the end of the red potion, so he's going to have to get through on his remaining 7 hearts.
Yeah, meanwhile, Wimpy taking on Blind here.
Don't know that we can call that a clean fight on Garrison's side, but he is through that second item, just a green rupee, and both of our runners with catches of dungeon prizes here. That is the first crystal for Wimpy off of Blind, and the green pendant catch for Garrison.
Yeah, I got through that fight, so major props to that. That's not an easy fight.
If Wimpy decides he wants to do that later, he'll at least have the hammer to make that fight for the green pendant a little easier. And I think Garrison is going to go ahead and turn that one in right now, has those Saha's Closet checks, maybe going to go ahead and dip into Pendant Eastern. I see a little speculation in chat there for Vanilla Boots. Could be a thing. But instead, just a heart, and the back has bombs, piece of heart, and the arrow of destiny, guaranteed with 100% accuracy to be absolutely useless until our runners find a bow. And given that both Pod and Eastern are pendant dungeons, that could just be in GT.
Oh yeah, we're in that situation, aren't we?
And we have Wimpy now on the Mirrorless Smith sequence. As noted earlier, this paid out very handsomely in the first game of this ZSR triple header of Challenge Cup action, that Yukikaze versus Zen Arcane matchup.
Yeah, Garrison kind of running out of stuff to do here. Oh, it's a Quake medallion.
That's an interesting find. It could be required for Meyer. We're not going to know for a little while yet until we happen to come across the flute.
Looks like Wimpy's heading up to Hera here.
It's a crystal dungeon. You need to full clear it anyway. There are a couple of items on offer, and he can check the ether tablet while he's up there, so, you know, it's not a terrible play as far as density goes. But hello, look what Garrison just pulled out of the front of Pendant Eastern Palace. I spy with my little eye something blue and shiny.
It spies right back at you.
It really does.
Yeah.
As our tracker is noting, that will make Garrison's trip to Hera a little quicker when he gets good and ready to make it.
Yeah, dipping Eastern here without a bow is not the worst thing, since it is a pendant. You don't need to necessarily complete the dungeon, and hopefully you get lucky and find a progression item like a mirror.
Yeah, you have to wonder on Garrison's side now, having already seen a progression item in this Pendant Eastern Palace, but having had the Pendant Skull Woods not pay out, how quickly does he want to try and dip into Pod?
Yeah, true. I think the major issue he could potentially run into is if Pod is bow locked. And looks like Wimpy was trying to set up Harapot there, but a heart piece flew up and flew right into him basically, and so screwed up the Ancilla value for bomb jumping, and decides to opt out after that.
The bomb jump version of the trick is a little more fickle. The advantage of it, of course, is that you can basically always have bombs. In fact, the game assumes that you do, so they're available to you somewhere, and you can just perform the trick that way. Wimpy finding another bottle with red potion there in Tower of Hera.
Looks like our runners are going to converge on Hera here in a moment.
It's certainly looking that way, and I think Wimpy has either an item on the boss or an item in the basement. That small key already in inventory.
Yep, sounds right.
Garrison, seeing that full heart container on Ether Tablet. Only one sword so far, so can't actually pick it up.
Oh, getting double deadrocked there.
Wimpy with a really clean Hammer Moldworm fight there. Garrison is going to have to do this on basically sub-NMG level equipment. He's going to have the sword, but no boots. Now, with either the hookshot or the Cane of Burna, you can do some shenanigans there that NMG would not expect of you, but it's not nearly as easy of a fight this way.
Yeah, it looks like he waited for that item to drop, so not going to get the weird bomb jump bug.
And a handful of menu buffers there, but has gone ahead and gotten her right on in. This is an advantage that Wimpy will have. Having the hammer wall up here is going to go ahead and duck into Spike Cave. Just a 20, however, so Garrison not missing it unless he happens to spend the time to come back for it later. So if you're Wimpy and we see him save quitting to the Sanctuary here, what's your play now?
Let's see. Yeah, I guess he has Purple Chest. He did Thieves Town already. Maybe the Moth? I'm not sure.
It does feel like he's kind of intentionally avoiding making that play back to Ice Palace, and it's starting to feel more and more like maybe Ice has not divulged all of its secrets to us yet.
Yeah, right. I was kind of thinking that, like, you know, maybe the deeper we go into Ice, the more progression we start finding. Although once Garrison finds the hammer, he'll be able to full clear Swamp Palace.
This is true.
So it feels like that might be the next place the game is going to want us to go at this point, after Ice Palace.
And speaking of Garrison, there he is, evening up those crystal counts 2-2 now at 50 minutes and 50 seconds. Let's see what play he has on the brain. While we wonder where he's actually going to carry this play, I'll note that Wimpy has decided to use the stun prize to his advantage, going to stun some enemies, and the stun prize today is the small magic decanter. When you're getting ready to get into the back of Skull Woods here and you'd like to top up your magic, having that little added advantage is not too shabby.
Yeah, very nice.
Also taking advantage of that lamp to preserve just as much magic as possible. Between the additional magic and that hammer, I think that Wimpy's going to have a little easier of a time with this, at least as long as he's comfortable with the hammer portion.
Yeah, definitely this is a fight with the hammer. It's 10 times easier than just the fighter sword.
And he doesn't even need it, gets the job done with the 7 fire rod shots and just a little work with the fighter sword. Very nicely done.
Yeah, very good job there. Nice boss kill.
Both of our runners have done this. We've seen that green pendant turn in and know that it's nothing, but at the same time, Wimpy had an easier and quicker time of it. A little time gained there on Garrison.
Yeah, now he's able to do the Smith chain in a nice way. Do you think he dips the first chest of Swamp Palace before finding his way into ice here? Kind of feels that way with this route.
Given the number of checks that he's down to, I can't say that it would surprise me. That's one of the crueler and ruder locations that the randomizer can put your hammer, and, well, you know, if you've been running the game long enough to have made it to the round of 16 in the Challenge Cup, you've probably seen that a time or two before, and it has to at least be in your brain. Garrison finding the second sword there in K45. That's a nice one to have your hands on. Going to need at least that much to beat the game. You can't hurt Ganon with the fighter sword.
Yeah. Now we can collect the item on Bombo's tablet, whatever that might be.
Which may be a point of interest since, well, we haven't really seen the book pay out yet. We know that Desert is boots locked, and we'll need to go back in there eventually. The question is, well, by the time we do we have the flute and we can just kind of mirror over? And isn't that an interesting place to find a bow?
Very nice. That's a good pull.
That may tempt Garrison further away from Ice Palace, however, now not having to worry about the bow lock in Palace of Darkness. And that kind of feels like part of a logical chain, doesn't it? Go into Pendant Eastern to find your mirror. You know, it's not logically a mirror check in advanced item placement for the purple chest, but, you know, you still kind of think, this is a check that I usually only do when I've got mirror. Is this the game pointing me over to Pendant Pod?
Yeah, super convenient. Go back, get your mirror, get your bow, go back to Eastern Pod. I guess if you'd have to do Eastern first, so that doesn't really work out. What was on the island here? Is it? Oh, he's going to. Oh, going to Pod. I see.
Yeah, I didn't recall there being anything particular on the island, but yeah, this does look like the Palace of Darkness play. Unfortunately, swimming right by his hammer and not even knowing it.
Yeah, that's a tough one to find your way into. I wasn't. Oh, he's going to do Pyramid here. Okay. I guess there's a way here he could do Pyramid, and if he goes up to Catfish, he can get a potion or two along the way, and then use the Whirlpool to get back to Ice Palace or something.
That could be a thing. That is an advanced piece of routing that I certainly didn't have in my mind at the moment, so, you know, we'll see. Walks up, sees the 3 hundo, thinks, no, you know what, I don't need to go back over 1,000 rupees, but I already walked about 80% of the way there, let's grab it. Now, I know just how strong the draw for those 300 rupees is. You know, we do still have to do Ice, we have to do Mire, we have to do Turtle Rock and GT. Half Magic hasn't shown up yet. How many potions am I actually going to need to feel safe here?
Yeah, it's definitely nice. With the Master Sword, it's less bad. But if you're going into Ice, you know, having a potion or two is always nice. But yeah, it looks like he'll be going into Pod. Take that bow to loot it out. Can't do the boss though, unfortunately, without the hammer that's in Ice Palace there.
And Wimpy, with that hammer advantage, is going to go right on into the Crystal Swamp Palace. 6 items on offer here for him. Looks like we're having another small technical hiccup on Wimpy's side there. Apologies for that. While Garrison seems not to have been bow locked, with that bow placement, how tempted would you have been with the mirror to just go over to that bow locked side first? You have no hammer, so you're going to have to mirror out of it eventually anyway.
Sorry, to check the bow lock side first?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, makes sense. Just go there first, then mirror back out and come back and loot the rest of the dungeon, since you're going to have to anyway. Because there's almost pretty... Well, now he knows there's a key there, but there's pretty much always a key there. At least one. And yeah, it looks like Wimpy found a Cane of Samaria in that first chest of Swamp. So that'll make routing Ice Palace easier when he decides to head back.
That seems pretty likely to have been the item that he was waiting for to draw him back to that dungeon, so we will get back in there in the near future most likely and actually see what was left behind with the failed Ice Palace bomb jump.
Yeah, and the other thing too here is if there is something important in Pod, it might take a while for Wimpy to get back here, because he does have a lot more open that he can do, especially with now that Red Cane and the Fire Rod has the ability to go through TR, and if the Ice Rod's in there, like it sometimes is, we'll be able to even complete it. So, you know, having a reason to come back to Pod at this point, there's not a lot of reason to, is what I'm trying to say, from his perspective at the moment.
Yeah, there seem to be fairly large draws for Wimpy to go elsewhere. Garrison did find half magic in there, but that doesn't really count on the progression item scale, unfortunately. It's a nice safety.
Oh, definitely.
Particularly once he gets into Swamp Palace and also finds that cape. That was the cape that I saw on Wimpy's side. I'm not just hallucinating.
Yeah, that was in the south chest, the swamp.
Seeing too many red items, and I was just thinking, okay, did I just kind of think that was something it wasn't?
Speaking of red items.
Yeah,
nice
plenty of red items to go around.
And there's another one.
Wimpy's going to go ahead and have the fight with Argus here, while Garrison is in the Dark Maze, has found 10 sticks, which is not really the kind of thing he's hoping to see.
Yeah, nothing good so far in Pod, progression-wise anyway.
Wimpy having the unfortunately long, slow Fighter Sword Argus fight. You need to get 2 spins in on each of these puffs. You can try to hook a couple of them at a time, but he seems to be content to just hook singles and keep the fight simple.
Yeah, it looks like Pod's completely empty here. So, and Garrison going back to take down Armos Knights, which I'm guessing has an item, because I don't think he would be coming all the way back here just to get the pendant if he left Pod without... Oh, he couldn't even beat the boss at Pod, never mind.
Yes, I'm reasonably certain there was still an item tucked away here. And that is Argus down for Worldwide Wimpy, has 3 bombs, and that is Crystal number 3 taking another one of those 1 crystal leads, 3-2 now at 1 hour and 2 minutes.
Yeah, it looks like he's going back to Ice Palace. If I were to guess here.
Now with Samaria in hand, you can just Icebreaker through onto the slightly more item-dense side of the dungeon. You don't have to worry about the Ice Palace bomb jump anymore. And of course, it's another one of those crystals that you're going to need to beat the game anyway, so you know, maybe you just hope that something like the flute or the ice rod shows up here and you can have an obvious next play.
Yeah, it's always nice when the game kind of tells you where to go next, especially in Crystal Dungeon progression.
Armos Knights decidedly not Garrison's answer here, just 20 rupees.
Yeah, he's running out pretty fast. I think he has like Graveyard Ledge left and Catfish. I think that's it. So Ice Palace seems to be, it's going to have to be the play at some point. Let's see what he chooses here.
He seems to be very dead set against that play at the moment.
Yeah, I think this has to be a Graveyard Ledge play, right? I feel like he's done everything else in this area.
Yeah, he's already cleared out Skull Woods, Village of Outcasts, got the bow off of Purple Chest, so the entire Smith sequence is done for him outside of, the hammer pegs, which, well, they're not going to contain the hammer, so Graveyard Ledge or bust for Garrison here. Wimpy seems to be making fairly quick work of Ice Palace here now that he's all the way on through the Icebreaker side. Going to show us the freest bomb jump in the game. Just put yourself in that corner and lay the bomb down and wait for it to explode. No tricks needed.
Yep, nothing on Graveyard Ledge, so I guess, yeah, we have Catfish and then Ice Palace left.
And it looks like he's going to go ahead and carry that play to Catfish, and then, as you surmised, maybe it'll just be the mirror there and use of that portal. It's a nice little bit of routing here to make those last 3 available checks to him. It also seems that Garrison has decided that this is the time to stop by the potion shop. You're right here, just a quick mirror transition over, pick up a couple of blues to go on your way. And Wimpy's going to drop into Cold Stare here in just a second. This Fighter Sword hammer with the fire rod is maybe not too terrible. I'm not sure what he has in bottles at the moment.
Yeah, I think he had a red goo that he was getting bullied pretty bad by Argus and had to use it there. I'm not sure if he has any other potions or fairies or anything. Ooh.
Garrison has found, yeah, I hear that, ooh, that ether medallion there on Catfish. We have no idea what we need to get into Mire yet. The flute has not appeared.
Yeah, and fighting the puffs here with the hammer.
Seems to be a combo of hammer and fighter sword spins to hold them at bay. Has already gotten one of them down.
Yeah, good job there. They got to be a little careful. These puffs like to charge you sometimes out of nowhere and just go right at you as fast as they can.
Not unlike that, apparently.
Ooh.
That is an unfortunate shot taken right from the Cold Stare Puff. Even on Blue Mail, they still do quite a bit of damage. Garrison seeing that first chest hammer in Ice Palace cannot be feeling great. Unless, as the commentators, we've forgotten something, that was a literal last location.
Yeah, it might be.
Our tracker P pointing out that yes, the first check-in swamp, that other possible awful hammer location, was also available to our runner WGarrison.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Wimpy with the quick hobo check is now back to the sanctuary. Garrison with a nice clean bomb jump there in the Ice Palace bomb jump room. And some good usage of the hook shot to avoid that fire bar.
Yeah, very nicely done.
See what Wimpy's play is here. This may also be a play to Graveyard Catfish with a stop off for potions along the way.
Yeah, I think so. Just clear up some more of that stuff. I don't know if he checked Bumper Ledge earlier. He definitely had a lot more to do earlier with that hammer. But yeah, it's nice to do this and kind of do the same play that we saw Garrison do to be able to get those potions on the way back to Ice Palace.
And he is going to go ahead and give us that Bumper Ledge check. With the cape in hand from the play into Swamp Palace, would be able to pick it up, but it's just 3 bombs. So we're going to see the same kinds of things from our runners that the other runner has already done here. So an hour and 11 minutes in, this is another one of those good times to remind you all, if you've been enjoying this show for the first 70 minutes, and we should still have some more action coming for you before this one comes to a conclusion, since we've got some items outstanding. Give these runners a follow. WGarrison and Worldwide Wimpy putting on a show this evening for your entertainment. But I think the big question here is going to be, what do these two decide to do next? Because Wimpy is going to run out of checks here and kind of be either forced back to Ice Palace to clear the boss out, or to go to Turtle Rock and have the question of, well, is the Ice Rod just in here?
Yeah, it looks like Turtle Rock might be a next play that needs to be made after Ice and Swamp here. I think Wimpy skipped left side swamp, and I know that we saw at least a map in Diver Down room, so there's at least one item there that could be the Ice Rod, could be nothing, could be the boots. We know we still need the boots, but
It is tough to say. We also know that Wimpy still has that purple chest check outstanding. The only bow that we've seen so far was on that. Not
Yeah,
that
that's
that's
very
actually
true.
paid out yet, but unless the other one happens to be along the way, you're going to want for one of those in GT, unless you're a Mimic Clipper.
Those dirty mimic clippers.
There's Wimpy snagging that Ether Medallion and is going to save and quit rather than taking that Whirlpool back to ice.
Yeah, I guess that actually kind of makes sense from his perspective that, if he goes back now, he just has to do Fighter, Sword, Hammer, Cold Stare again. And there's no more items left in the dungeon. So, he only really needs to go back at some point to get the crystal.
So the question becomes, what is he doing instead? I think about the only thing that he has left over here is that purple chest check.
Yeah, I think he didn't have the mirror before, right? So maybe K45 along the way, but...
And that'll net him his second sword.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, so basically just cleaning up the overworld here. I don't think there's almost any overworld left for either of these runners after this.
Garrison making use of the only item of any meaning whatsoever that he found in Palace of Darkness, that half magic, to absolutely rage rob the snot out of those cold stare buffs.
Yeah, definitely the way you want to do it here. And also seeing the small key on the boss. So knowing the red cane is somewhere in the wild right now, that the dungeon was meant to be done after finding it. Which is interesting, because if he had gone to Swamp Palace before Ice Palace looking for that hammer, he would have found the red cane.
And in the one non-hammer locked location, so it wasn't even a logical double dip of ice.
Yeah, right?
But it would have been a logical double dip of swamp.
Yeah, he had to do it that way either way.
Instead, he can do both of them in one go, and, this is why we learn the tricks we learn. Things like the Ice Palace Bomb Jump allow us to skip some logical requirements sometimes. But it should come as no surprise that Garrison's next play is going to be right down to Swamp Palace. Having that hammer in hand now, knows that he can clear the place right on out.
Yeah, and I think after this, once he's done with Swamp, he'll be close to caught up with Wimpy, except for having done Pod. Wimpy still needs to go back and do Ice Palace at some point, so... we might see them converge a little bit earlier than, I kind of would have thought here with where that hammer was.
It's
depending
possible.
on his next play.
Yeah, the question then becomes, now that Wimpy sees that bow, how does he feel about those bow dungeons?
Yeah, do you think he goes back to do Pod here and then finishes off Easter? Or maybe tries to find his way up the mountain at this point?
Wimpy seems in a lot of respects to have been trying to avoid dungeons that he does not feel maybe necessarily comfortable in, like, got the hammer early in Ice Palace. As soon as it didn't really go his way, decided to dip back out until he got forced back into it, at least from kind of his perspective. And doesn't really seem to want to commit to that next mountain play until he finds an ice rod.
Yeah, I can see that from his perspective. I think another major difference we'll see here, if he does finish Pod in Eastern, he will have the PED fully in logic and available to pull.
This is true. To this point, it feels like Garrison has been more thorough and Wimpy's plays have maybe paid off a little better, but he's now going to go ahead and give some of this time back, unless it's either Ped or Helmasaur King with one of our next pieces of the logical puzzle.
I mean, we did just see a seed with boots on Ped in the previous race. Maybe we see it again? I hope not.
That feels like the kind of thing that Rando does every once in a while. And we see Garrison is going to opt for the full clear of Swamp Palace, is going to go ahead and go left side first. We do know from Wimpy's earlier clear of this dungeon that there is an item over here, but we don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think it's only one, but I'm pretty sure it's only one item here.
Garrison having a bit of an argument with that fire snake there, trying to get the Samaria block into the correct position, while Wimpy is paying off the extortionist to be allowed into the Palace of Darkness.
Classic Kiki.
So until Wimpy gets to the boss here, we're not going to get a lot of new information. He's going to come up with half magic as part of this play, and I think the rest was just maybe sticks, money, and pieces of heart.
Yeah, nothing in here. I think the red boomerang was in the harmless Hellway. That was during the streak of red things we saw on stream from the two runners.
So in this Swamp Palace, we have a big key in its vanilla location. Depending on how correctly Beer has counted these items, since I failed to, this may just be the other dungeon item.
Yeah, I definitely saw the map. Everything else is unclear at this point. Yeah, it looks like just
yep. Although at that point, from Garrison's perspective, at least he knows he's going to have found everything in here and will not have to come back. That Wimpy, who has already committed 2 dips of ice and will eventually make a third, may also have that last remaining item in Swamp Palace on the brain.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to make the choice to go search other places for, whatever other items outstanding. I think we need an ice rod, we need the boots, and the flute somewhere. All 3 are probably just in GT, or in TR, I mean.
It is starting to feel that way, isn't it?
How about, like, flute and TR, and then the ice rod and the boots are in Mire?
That sounds like peak rando to me. Go ahead, make the mountain climb so that you can go get the things that you actually need to beat the dungeon on the mountain, not on the mountain. Garrison already on Argus with this Master Sword. It's just 1 spin per puff rather than needing to get the double, and is getting these double puff hooks very cleanly. Maybe a little calm curse there on the very end, but by and large, got those done in the prescribed manner.
Yeah, and Wimpy getting that hammer jump there, very nice. I think he fell once, maybe got the bomb in a bit late, but gets it second try, so.
It's a nice trick, maybe a little more meaningful in some keys modes rather than just standard or open. But it's always nice to see the runner land a nice trick like that.
Yeah, definitely. So it looks like So Garrison is up 1 crystal now, is that right?
Garrison is in fact up 1 crystal now, up 4-3.
It's definitely been a very full clear seed from both runners. It just depends on what order you full clear.
And it seems that Garrison is ready for some mountain time.
Yeah, I want to say he only has, what, hammer pegs left? And Helma.
Yeah, chasing those two things on very opposite sides of the world versus going up here to TR, which the only thing you can't do in it is the boss. I can really understand the play.
Yeah, and going to be checking Spike Cave along the way. Wimpy checked this earlier, I believe.
And it was something like a 20 or some bombs or something. It's dead, whatever it was.
Yeah, more trash.
Wimpy pulling his half magic there out of the vanilla big key location in the Palace of Darkness. And yes, Chad, I see you there speculating that the Ice Rod is going to be in its vanilla location on the end of Laser Bridge. A note to anyone who wants to run the vanilla version of this game, the vanilla location for the Ice Rod in something other than Rando is actually Ice Rod Cave. But, well, Rando does things a little differently.
Yeah, I think it was named Ice Rod Cave before they realized there was an Ice Rod there. And it's just lucky coincidence that someone found an Ice Rod.
Wimpy's going to go ahead and get into the dark in the basement in Pod here just as soon as this wall finishes sliding out of the way. Is going to give us the Helmasaur King check that Garrison was unable to make with the lack of hammer on his side.
Yeah, do you remember if there's an item on Helma?
I think the answer to that is yes, but I've been known to be wrong before.
I don't know why it's been hard to pay attention to items. I think both runners have been at opposite parts of the world constantly, so trying to follow both sides at once is taking all the brain power I've got left.
Yeah, isn't that right, Leoria? With a voice like this, who wouldn't believe me? So here's Garrison bombosing his way into Turtle Rock, and the Helmasaur King fight. The mask is now off, going to go to Arrow Strats here, it appears, on Wimpy's side. The very cooperative Helmasaur King just going to stand there and try and swing the tail around while Wimpy fills him full of arrows.
Yeah, very nicely done there in that phase 2.
And there was in fact an item. It was in fact just 10 sticks, and that is the Pendant Helmasaur King, the red pendant there. Pendant 1 of 3 for Wimpy, if we're starting to think that maybe Ped has an answer for us. Oh yes, 2 of 3, pardon, and our tracker, P, is going to correct me there. The moth fight, very nicely done with that fire rod, and not even on half magic earlier. I'd already put that out of the brain, since, well, we knew that the green pendant didn't pay out in anything.
So far, just 2 small keys and a map in the front of TR.
Well, you need to find a small key or 2 to actually carry yourself on into the dungeon, so not hugely surprising. And Wimpy here going to go ahead and head for the Armos Knights, of course, and complete that pendant collection. Also going to find the junk item there on the boss itself.
another key, which puts the big key in the vanilla location.
Shocking, another big key in its vanilla location. Who would have guessed? Yeah, the dungeon is absolutely baiting Garrison all the way in, and at this point it almost has to have one of our progression items. Unless we have something like Flute on Ped to get both of the other ones out of the mire area.
Wow, that would be rude. So, 3 pendants. You can go straight for the ped here?
Yeah, it looks like that is what Wimpy has in mind. You've gone to all the trouble to collect all of them. You kind of hope that the play has paid out, otherwise you can't help but feel behind. Well, with the map already seen in TR and Mimic Cave already also on the table here, we still have, what, 4 or 5 items left? We haven't really seen anything yet.
I think all 5 are still outstanding.
Yeah. Because we went small keys, big key, and that map. So, yeah, everything's still on the table here in TR, trying to hide its secrets to the last possible second.
Yeah, kind of trying to be like Pod, where it jams a bunch of small keys in the front, only to put all the good stuff on Laser Bridge.
Here we are. Let's have a look at this pedestal pull, a blind pull from Worldwide Wimpy. For 10 sticks.
Oof. Dead ped.
Now, he cannot possibly know that with the exception of the actual play to Helmsor King, his opponent has done all of those same things. So the lead not as gigantic as it could have been, but in the mind of a runner, my opponent just avoided all of these pendants that didn't need clearing and is super, super ahead of me right now.
Yeah, the only thing that was in any pendant dungeon at all that we needed was that mirror in the first chest of Eastern, or second chest, rather, of Eastern.
And there's Garrison pulling Boots out of the Crystal Roller Room.
Classic Boots.
Now you can go fast, but of course now you're on the Samaria platform maze and can't go fast.
Yeah, that's true. Good timing for that.
But you know, they did come out right before Laser Bridge, so has access to Boots for laser skips if that's the way he wants to go. Of course, also has the cape and the blue cane.
And half
plenty
magic.
Of options. Yeah, and half magic, so plenty of options here. Just depends on what Garrison is comfortable with.
Oh wow, getting that dead rock out of the way. That was a good job there. Or did it? Oh, it must have came out of its invincibility state. Never mind. But yep, dead rocks, always fun.
And TR still paying out Laser Bridge with the magic bag full of swag, the flute. There's a compass in the third chest and the small key that he needs to go to the boss. But of course, going to the boss, not really a thing right now because the ice rod has not appeared.
Yeah, you can still try and save the portal here. If you go out, use the mirror, and then die from the Tektites. Save and quit, go down to activate your flute and do the powder, and if you find the ice rod in one of those 2 checks, then you can come straight back up, and it looks like that's what he's doing, so good game knowledge here.
The saving of portals is definitely something that I need to get better at, both just thinking about it and actually doing it. This is a very smart play here by Garrison, as Homemade Beer has so helpfully elucidated for me.
Yeah, you kind of got to get lucky with it, though. Looks like he saved to the mountain. That's not really where you want to save to. Oops. Yeah, gonna continue keeping that portal alive, though, from dying again here.
So we'll see the flute activation for sure, also probably that magic bat check, and then Garrison gets choices. But pretty much all of them revolve around that desert and mire area.
He's gone so long without the boots, he forgot that he found them. So he's going to be skipping King's Tomb here and Bonk Rocks, which, could both well contain the Ice Rod at this point.
That is, in fact, a thing, and it's very easy to do. You found them, and then, as I was saying, you get onto that Samaria platform maze, and you can't use them.
Oops. Oh, Wimpy has got to be careful. He's down to 1 heart here.
Was trying to ward off that pokey with a fire rod shot.
Yeah, and we know Powder's on Laser Bridge, so don't think he has a fairy either. Maybe he has a potion here.
And no, didn't he buy? No, he safe quit out of that without buying potions. I think it becomes difficult to remember.
Got the boots. Looks like he didn't do the bat here, which is fine.
Yeah, it's another one of those crystal dungeons calling his name. He knows that he was boots locked out of here and found the boots, so now would be the time to go chase after them. Of course, there were a couple of other locations that he could have chased after them, and, well, I think they slipped his mind for a hot minute there while he was going to activate that flute.
Yeah, it seems to be the case, since he wasn't even, I was going to say booting. He wasn't booting through the world, through the overworld on his way to activate the flute, but dashing is probably the right verb. Did he get
no,
Smokey?
He stepped on the tile and then ran back out of the room.
That's what I thought I saw. I just confused for a second.
And we do apologize. We have been having some technical difficulties on Wimpy's end, occasionally losing connection for a few seconds. That is, unfortunately, the price we sometimes pay for playing our games over the internet. And Beer, it seems that you've coined a new phrase. Some of our chat appears to like the booting term.
Well, you just, you got to boot all over the overworld. Desert Palace is actually dash locked.
And at the end of the game now, our runners can give Ganon the boot.
That's right. So just quick recapping on the seed here. Let's think about it for a second. The only progression in the whole seed, right, was the hammer and ice. I guess you can call the sword in Cave 45, the bow in Purple Chest, and then the red cane in Swamp Palace. And the mirror in Eastern. And then everything else was early Light World stuff. And then you're supposed to just do those 5 things and then go to TR, apparently. Everything else was absolutely dead empty. So yeah, fun seed.
Yeah, sometimes the seed really just wants you to go to TR, and that's what Wimpy is finding out here momentarily on Laser Bridge with all of those items that Garrison scooped up just a couple of minutes ago. Kind of surprising with all of the thoroughness from both runners so far, still no silvers and still only on the Master Sword.
Yeah.
In addition, of course, to that still missing Ice Rod. Wimpy's going to give us a couple of new checks here, has not forgotten about that fashionable footwear now on his feet, and is going to give us King's Tomb and Bonk Rocks before the flute activation. finds the other bow. So I was just talking about how those silvers hadn't shown up yet. There they are.
Yeah, there you go. I have a feeling that Garrison will not find those at this rate. Presumably the ice rod's not there, so presumably it's in one of these 2 dungeons. Ooh, giant compass leap.
That was a really interesting compass leap. Just 3 bombs there in the Balk Rock, so Wimpy is still on the lookout for that ice rod. He's going to go ahead and check the lumberjack here. He's kind of in the vicinity, has the boots now.
Yeah, I want to say we saw this earlier, right?
I'm reasonably certain Garrison noticed this earlier, and yeah, we've got a sword there. Oh no, he says no.
We haven't.
Well, it's a sword. I don't think our runners are going to be getting that 3rd sword.
Okay, then.
That might explain why these swords have been a little hard to come by this seed.
Well, it's I don't know, kind of a weird reverse commentator curse that you mentioned swords and silvers, and we see them in the next 2 checks.
That is how the commentary thing goes sometimes. Garrison working through Mire 2 while Wimpy turns on the bird. And
Yeah,
is also
go ahead.
Also going to go ahead and make this magic bat check. Yeah, this note that Garrison is kind of skipping those overworld locations kind of feels like he's in dungeon mode, even though he's not quite in dungeon mode. Wimpy just getting that 2nd level shield upgrade off of the magic bat.
A better defense in front of him now.
This is true, it does block fireballs, which is not always the worst thing to have. If you're going to have a shield spread at all, it may as well at least do something against the things that are actually dangerous to you.
Yeah, I think the only use for the Fisher Price shield is blocking the Moblin spear toss in front of Swamp Palace. Might be other uses, but that's the only one I can think of. And there we go, Ice Rod.
Well, Garrison deciding to go for these dungeons, it does seem to have paid out for him. Not going to be finding those silvers now, that's for sure, because, well, that's go mode for WGarrison at an hour and 41 minutes, basically.
Yeah, very nice. And from here, he can just go outside and die and continue saving the portal. So he'll have a nice climb back up to just go straight over and kill Trinex without having to go through TR again.
Finds the red mail there in the Vanilla Big Key location, yet more safety.
Yeah, very nice 2 items there.
You're still on Master Sword after all this time, and staring that prospect of a Master Sword Silverless Ganon in the face, you start thinking, well, you know, at least I have some of these safeties available to me.
Yeah, at this rate, we know where, most of everything else is offensively for him. That I don't think there's a very good chance he finds another sword, honestly.
It seems pretty likely that that last one is just going to be tucked away in Ganon's tower, so it may come down to the GT Big Key location.
Could also be in Checkerboard, but he can't check that.
Not in Keep His Portal, anyway. while Wimpy's working his way into the back of Desert here, is just a handful of screens away from the land molas. Seems to be maybe a little low on fire rod shots, but with those silvers in hand, should still have a reasonably quick and easy time clearing out the boss.
Yeah, it'll definitely help too once he gets to Vidi.
I expect on Garrison's side for this Vitreous fight that we'll see something like caping up with that half magic and then Master Sword spins.
Yeah, that's definitely a nice way to do it. Very safe. That's, I always say about these kind of low percent boss fights, just do it the safest way possible, because no matter how slow you do the fight, dying is probably slower.
Especially something like Cold Stare or Vitreous, where the run back is pretty substantial.
Oh, yeah.
You'd rather use your safeties and just be okay.
Yeah, and he'll be pretty... No, he'll have 11 arrows. That'll be plenty, actually, for GT. Alright, Wimpy taking down his 5th crystal here in Desert. Or 4th crystal. I forgot he still needs to go back to Ice.
Yeah, that Ice Palace still on the table there has probably been hoping to find a little more offensive firepower, and unfortunately has found it primarily in the form of those silver arrows, which do nothing to the Cold Stare buffs.
Was that checkerboard?
That was checkerboard. It was all of 20 rupees.
Ah, another big 20.
Something that Garrison, if he's still in the mind to hang on to that portal, is not actually going to miss. The red mail is going to make it a little more difficult for him to perform this death orb.
That's true, isn't it?
The murdered Actyl is at least going to do a full heart of damage to red mail, so...
Yeah, it won't be the worst thing in the world, but it'll be pretty bad.
Especially as he finds yet an additional heart container there in the fire shack. He says, no, this is the one time I didn't want to see one more hit point. And here we go, 13 hits from this murdered Actyl later. Garrison is going to be able to save that portal and get back up on the mountain.
Yeah, it's staying nice and hovering right above him and poking him with the little rhino horn it has.
While Wimpy is trying to get over onto the right-hand side of Meyer, and that fire snake was in his lane. You really hope that those fire snakes will stay in their own lane, but it was having none of him today.
Do you think he gets more potions here, but I don't remember what he has in stock. And looks like his answer is no, and not even caring about the health refill on the way over back to Trinex. But yeah, did a good job saving the portal here. Probably ends up saving him more time than even with the mistake of saving to Old Man.
Yeah, kind of surprised he did not opt for the health refill here. The Master Sword Trinex fight, which is, really more often the Hammer Trinex fight, not always the nicest thing in the world, although I'm pretty sure he still has at least those couple of blues that he bought when he was over by the potion shop.
Yeah, not a free fight at all. It's one that is worth practicing. Oh yeah, there's a fairy there. Oop, don't jump down that one.
That was almost a decent slug of seconds he gave back there, but he did jump back down the correct path eventually. So I'm fairly certain that Trinex still has an item here, because we saw that map early and then the compass was on Laser Bridge. So, as a runner, you kind of hold out that vain hope. Maybe my other sword is just here and I don't have to worry about it when I'm in GT.
Yeah, it's always nice to get a sword here. I mean, it'd be nice to have one before this, but he doesn't know he won't find silvers, but we know that, so it would be really nice for him to not have to do Master Sword Silverless scan in a minute.
And rather than going in with those hammers, it's Garrison and the Master Sword versus Trinex.
Yeah, doing a good job of it, actually, taking them down pretty quickly.
Particularly once you get onto the Ice Head, you've got that half magic and fire rod, you can really kind of be pretty liberal with it.
Yeah, because on the fire side, the splash damage from the fire rod actually does real damage to the head, whereas on the fire head, when you use the ice rod, it does no damage actually to the head. It just stuns it.
Which is also why sometimes you'll get the Ice Head to go down a little faster, and sometimes when you still have Spooky and your offset Fire Rod Splash, you will have to do the same number of sword hits or hammer hits to both of the heads.
Yeah, it's always fun. Speaking of Spooky, both runners getting a nice Spooky today. Except, oh, it looks like Wimpy missed the third hit. He ran up the stairs too quickly.
But alright, Wimpy is going to go ahead and get into the Victories fight with the Silvers Blink and he'll miss it, but that was Garrison's 7th crystal at 1 hour 48 minutes, so it is that time for Garrison to make that climb of Ganon's tower. Starting with the hunt in Ganon's basement for that big key. 22 possible locations.
I was going to ask, do we have a bot? Here's the bot. Right on time.
Yeah, we go just a little differently here on CSR. We have our bets rather than our bots.
Bets. Bet bot. Yeah, Wimpy with his 5th crystal here. Makes nice use of the silvers.
And Garrison, thinking that maybe these boots have not done all of their work yet, decides to go left first, sees 10 arrows on that torch.
Might grab those now. Okay. Free 10 arrows for the basement.
Mildly surprised by that. You'd never really want to get to Ice Armos with less than your full loadout of arrows because they're going to take you a bit, but he finds some more in that chest anyway, so time saved. Good game,
yeah.
Be smarter than comms.
That's right. He knew! He knew!
Well, you know, we'd seen almost all of the bomb packs, but the arrows weren't really that forthcoming to see. There were probably some tucked away in here sooner or later. And now we can make the joke that it was just key sanity all along. We found the mushroom, and maybe the GT big key is just there.
I mean, what if it is? What's the mode we described the other day? GT big key sanity?
Yeah, GT big key shuffle. It's just a totally normal seed, but the GT big key is shuffled into the general pool, because why not?
Yeah, brand new fresh mode that, you know, we'll make popular someday. With probably no one.
Garrison getting a little bullied by this Gibdo, but has finally gotten on through the room. And wow, all the health was here, and that last one was Sankard. Hi Sankard, welcome to the team. It's late days here, but we're now up to 17 hearts.
Yeah, very nice. 17 hearts with red mail. Should be much better.
At that point, you pretty much have to stop worrying about Ganon. You've got all the hearts you can really stand. Even though you're going to have to do those 24 silverless hits in Phase 4 with the Master Sword, you know, you can afford to take a few hits to get the job done.
Yeah, is there any checks we missed besides Aga? I guess the mushroom might have the other sword too if he doesn't find it in here. Pyramid Fairy, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, Pyramid Fairy would be cruel and unusual. You were unlikely to find that, especially on Garrison's end, maintaining that portal to get back into Turtle Rock after finding the Ice Rod. And there's Wimpy clearing out Cold Stare, has acquired his 6th crystal. Well, Garrison is all the way up through check 13, has 14 to 17 coming up here in Rando Room.
Wow, getting deep in here. It's got just these last 4 and then 4 more and then tile room, right?
The Seed not done handing out bombs, but he does find the last remaining sword there in Rando Room. All of a sudden, that is a large comfort level for any runner. You've finally got your tempered sword. You don't have to worry about the tedium of Master Sword Silverless Ganon. Even though we know that he's not going to find silvers here, you know, he'll still check the other 2 chests if he winds up having to go behind Ice Armos to see if he can't find them. But tempered sword Silverless, reasonably free. At least for any runner of the caliber who's actually made it to the round of 16 here, which both of our runners today have, obviously. Garrison turning up the final shield upgrade there.
Yeah, very nice start to the Ice Armos here. Just taking it steady, make sure you don't run out of arrows.
Yeah, rather than trying for any kind of quick kill, just making sure that he makes the arrows that he actually uses count. And there's Garrison achieving bottle percent, all 4 bottles in inventory at 1 hour 54 minutes, and wouldn't you know it, the Seed has not had quite enough of our runners. It says, I invite you to just play around a little longer. We are going back to the basement to check Tile Room.
And good job to our tracker for guessing Tile Room.
Garrison doing a little running around at first and has decided, no, you know what, I'm just going to cape up and grab hold of this wall. When you grab onto the wall while you're caped up, the game kind of forgets that your magic meter is supposed to go down. As you can see there, that green bar not emptying.
Get the bee to fight the tiles for you. It's a good use of the bee.
And there it is, GT Big Key. That was the last available location for it. Now in Garrison's hands at 1 hour and 55 minutes. Here he goes, climbing the tower. It's all down to execution from here. Going to use those sword slashes to manipulate those mimics into position.
Nice magic refill from the mimics.
Feels pretty good, maybe puts you in mind that, well, I've got this fire rod, I can go ahead and use that in some of these gauntlet rooms. And Wimpy's going to be into the Trinex fight here momentarily. Wimpy going with a little bit of a different strat there. Was on the fire head until the ice head activated, and then he swapped over to make sure that no ice got onto the floor. But is getting a little bullied by Trinex here anyway. Has already had to burn a blue potion here.
Ooh, no, that's not good. It looks like he'll be fine. Plenty of health and magic for the rest of the fight.
While he's working on that, Garrison working on Landmo 2, a combination of tempered sword spins and fire rod shots doing the job here. And there is Wimpy down by Wimpy down with the Trinex there. Going to go ahead and grab that last crystal.
Yeah, got his 7th crystal and heading into GT now. Nice job on the Wizrobe room there. Always feels good to take them out in one shot.
A couple of really satisfying rooms as long as you have Samaria. Anytime that you've had a Samaria-less seed and no need for that Samaria in GT, you get there and you think, wait a minute, what's my backup strat for this room?
Yeah. Just use Ether.
Yeah, Ether or Bombos is kind of the answer to that. If you've got Ether, that would be preferred. If you don't, Bombos will still do the trick. Otherwise, you get down to something like Sword Beams or Arrows, which is not the easiest thing in the world, and certainly not quick.
Yeah, definitely. If the goal is to try and get them all in one cycle, so.
One spin and one slash. There is Moldorm 2 down for Garrison. Going to bypass the ultimate test of the game. It may have its vanilla value, it may have something else. It could have even had silvers from his perspective, but he thinks he's got a race to win and is comfortable on current equipment to go do it. We'll see how he handles this Aga 2 fight here. This first pattern is not the kindest in the world, but he gets a couple out of it.
Yeah, kind of awkward patterns here. But yeah, it gets a nice triple. Very nice triple.
And then follows it up needing to get just one more and does not on what I would call a substantially easier pattern. But there he is. He cleans it up in the 4th go-round.
Classic commentator curse.
Isn't it?
Ooh. Wimpy getting knocked off by the spike. That's frustrating.
Knocked off by the spike and then accidentally hooked himself off after he got thrown back to the top of the room from that fall into the pit. Seems to be persevering with this left side play though, so we'll make up a little bit of time here on Garrison, but Garrison is dropping into the Ganon fight to say hello.
A little bit of Pink Floyd to welcome us.
Yep, and he's not attempting the 1-in-1. Looks like he's going to get through on 2 cycles for Phase 1 in a very nice position for Phase 2. Now all he has to do is put a handful of spins in.
Yeah, best position for sure.
Going to head with that cape strat and grabbing the wall again to preserve the magic meter. There's Wimpy finding that tempered sword in Rando room again. That's one of those feelings of relief. You know you don't have to do Master Sword Ganon anymore.
Ooh, took a Ganon hug there. I can't even tell. It's like it was only a couple hearts of damage.
Garrison has preserved his potions better than Wimpy managed to, so even taking a Ganon hug or 2 on Red Mail is not the end of his world. Just into Phase 4 and needs to get these 12 spins in to win.
Yeah, doing a good job so far.
Well, Wimpy now on Ice Armos is going to get the bad news in a moment, but those silver arrows absolutely trash the fight.
and takes him down.
Yep, there it is. Get your GGs in chat for WGarrison, who is going to wait out this fanfare with that sword raised in the air and then cross the bridge. And we can announce that WGarrison has finished. That is first place in this race with a time on racetime.gg of 2 hours, 2 minutes, and 52 seconds.
Hello, GG.
Hello.
Forever
GG's.
rolling seeds. If he's putting boots on head and boots flute access to 2 crystals and TR.
As you can hear, we are indeed joined here in the booth by both Worldwide Wimpy and WGarrison. A great show this evening, gentlemen.
A great show that the seed put on. Holy moly. That was a mess of a seed.
Yeah, it was a mess. My Ice Palace was a mess, but whatever. I am the tallest pile of salt at this seed right now. This is the worst seed I've played in 5 months. The seed was bad. Real bad.
This seed was cruel and unusual, aside from the fact that it really just kind of kept throwing out all those pointers at TR, and both of you kept putting it off. It was pretty much a clear of the lower world before going back up for the TR play.
Well, I didn't have hammer forever.
Yeah, the hammer location was another thing. The mirror location was another thing.
I forgot where Mirror was in Eastern. That's right. That's right.
And then flute in TR for Ice Rod in Meyer. Like, there was nothing good about the seed.
And boots for Desert Palace.
Oh, yeah.
Because I made that early desert play with the book after getting Titans. I'm like, oh, I'm boots locked. Okay, well, where could boots be? Well, let's hope there's somewhere good. Nope. Here, have them in Roller Room and Turtle Rock. Great. Could have used those about an hour ago.
Yeah, and then the boots led to silvers.
I didn't even check for that. I was just in, like, I'm hitting the dungeons first, see if I can get Ice Rod from a dungeon and not have to worry about overworld checks, especially since I was trying to save a portal.
After, let's see, because I did Village, went and did my flip checks to get my normal glove, then I went into the dam to get Titans, went left, then I went into Swamp Palace just for a dip, or not Swamp Palace, Skullwoods, then I dipped Thieves Town, I did South Dark World, I went up the mountain, then I went into Ice Palace to get the hammer.
Yeah, my mindset was just to go into this and play like a really standard game, and if I was going to last locate something, make sure that it was in a good spot to last locate it. I think Ice Palace, I didn't like seeing hammer in there. I basically last located, the only thing I didn't dip first was swamp, and then it turned out that would have made things faster if I had done that.
Yeah, right.
And the seed felt like it was just not going my way as soon as hammer was in there, because that's the type of thing that I expect Wimpy to get first. I'm like, there's still like 3 more items to go mode, just try to play this super standard. So getting out of ice, like swamp was the only play left for me to make because I didn't have Kane yet. Got Kane out of swamp, and it's like, yeah, it's Turtle Rock time. I don't think did I check anything before going from swamp up to Turtle Rock? I think I did. Oh, I did Spike Cave. I just didn't want Ice Rod to be in Spike Cave before going in there. After that, I was just like, everything's been going so sideways. I'm the one who's more likely to just hit dungeons first. Let me do that, see if I could save this portal. And it ended up working out, but from the moment I hit the hammer, like, my brain just forgot how to play the game. It just was not making decisions all that well anymore. But I think that portal save was a huge thing, and I think I found, like, that Ice Rod location felt really good compared to the nasty places it could have been.
Now, Wimpy, I see you throwing out there in chat that the difference was you pulling Ped. Kind of close, but aside from actually killing Helmasaur King, we had Garrison do essentially the same things. He just didn't have Hammer when he got into Pod.
It was the cold stare death. If I would have killed him that first time, it would have been fine, but I had to go back in, so that's 2 minutes. And then killing Helmasaur, walking to Ped, that's another 2 minutes. And I was just about to get my big key, and then dying to IPBJ and last locationing the frickin' Ice Rod, essentially, because I did the boots checks after I got the boots going. Well, Ice Rod can go anywhere, and I'm going to last location it, because that's what I do.
Yep, when the seed is this roundabout, sometimes that just happens.
Yeah, I was telling Garrison in the chat, I'm like, this feels like neither of us won. Let's call this a tie and race again.
The winner here
call
was
it a tie, but
the
the seed definitely came in first place.
Yeah, I think
first,
chat were the real
second,
winner.
you guys last, yep.
I was looking for a finish at like 140. I'm like, oh man, if I would have just gone to TR, I could have probably had the seed done probably around 152. But it is what it is. The cold stare deaths, the Ice Palace just ate me today, and my controller fighting me on that IPBJ and on my freaking hammer jump. I literally practiced both of those an hour before and got them first try every time. Just.
I went into ice and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool because I'm not even going to need the Ice Palace bomb jump because we don't have hammer. It's just a stupid thing of just going through that path and finding hammer and then figuring out what to do from there. And then the first chest was hammer. I'm like, great.
Nice seed.
And then cold stare with Samaria locked. I'm like, what is the logic of this seed? It was this seed just wanted you to walk back and forth without flute or boots for the entire thing. It was insane.
Yeah, it was very silly that the mirror being in Eastern, kind of helps you get the bow in a more efficient routing kind of way on purple chest, but you're not gonna likely go to Eastern without a bow, and then when you do, it's like, oh well, okay, now I got a bow. Do I go back to Eastern or what's next, right?
I stayed so far away from that. I even said, all right, do I go ahead and go over to Eastern before I get green pendant? And I said, no, I'm gonna go get that green pendant and turn it in with it. So
I did the same thing. I did Skullwoods before Eastern.
Well, I had to go to Skullwoods twice because when I hit Dark World, I didn't have a sword. So, because I didn't do Mini Moldorm Cave until I was done with, did I have the hammer first? No, I jumped into Ice Palace from Mini Moldorm Cave. So, I didn't have a sword for blind, and I if I would have had a sword, I would have done Thieves Town right when I was there, but it's no matter.
I didn't have enough equipment for Mini Moldorm Cave either when I started going down to the dam area, and I'm like, you know what, fine, I'll do Agina, save and quit from there, and then I'll buy bombs from the Hylia shop in order to do Mini Moldorm Cave. Picked up the rock from the rock crab there, got full magic, completely turned right back around to do Mini Moldorm Cave. Like, that gives me enough for the fire rod shots. That seed, I don't think, was friendly at any point in the seed. I mean, the 202 finish time says that, and a 182 collection rate, but not a single part of it was friendly. It was all just a spaghetti mess.
The only thing in Overworld I did not check was Pyramid Fairy. That was it. That was the only thing I had left in the Overworld. And because GT was freaking Tile Room, so minus... I was probably right around 190 something.
Yeah. I skipped checkerboard. I skipped the boots checks. And
you never got to see what was on Lumberjack.
No, I was going to do it when I did the boots checks, but...
Lumberjack was the fourth sword. Did you happen to check left side swamp? I didn't.
I did.
Okay. Yeah, as soon as I got my last item, or my second to last item on Argus, I was like, nope, I'm not going back in.
Yeah, I still had like flute and ice rod and stuff before. There's just too much stuff that I needed and not enough checks left. Like, it was swamp and then TR, and I did not want to abandon a ice rod on left side swamp before going up there. That would have just been a death sentence right there.
I still had pod. I still had the rest of Smith Chain to do, which I ended up doing to find the bow to push me to pod. So I wasn't going back to left side swamp. If I last location ice rod and left side swamp, I was just gonna throw up my hands and say, nope, I'm just cursed today. I'm cursed. Game does not want me to win.
As you can see, we pretty much have like a year worth of discussion about the seed that we could have on our own. But are there any questions that came out of watching the race that you guys have still?
I do think you guys are kind of hitting the highlights here. We'll go ahead and throw that open to chat as well. If anybody's got any questions, our runners have kindly offered to answer them.
Yeah, I mean, what you guys said and the seed kind of speaks for itself. At some levels, pretty trash seed there. I don't really have any specific questions. It was just a tough seed with a lot of key items in really terrible locations.
I knew Garrison was going to be tough. It would be... I figured he and myself would have a pretty good chance of making it just at least out of this half of the bracket. Just going forward. Once you get down to about 16 players, it's going to be real tough to get out of. And how our bracket was lining up, we had a lot of players that were kind of real close in skill level. So it was who gets lucky and who executes well on a given day.
Yeah. I mean, our whole best of 3 was pretty close.
Yeah, game 1 was you dipped a pendant desert palace to get a medallion. Great. And then this seed was just Garbo.
Game 2, Wimpy finished as Ganon was exploding on my side. It startled me so bad I just walked off the bridge afterwards. I was done with that one. But it was like a 15-second difference or something.
That seed was nice. Everything was right in front of you if you did it well. This seed was all over the place. And that's just the worst. And it was a slow on top of it because boots were so late. And they were mandatory.
Well, it seems that we have only the one question from that. Joss Bleeden saying the only question he has is, why, God? Why?
You put mirror in and in Eastern, and then it's like, well, that's a Sphere 1 mirror. That would have been nice to have. And, oh, so my Mire access and my desert clearable access is in Turtle Rock. Great. Oh, my Red King was in Swamp. Fantastic. With my Hammer and Ice Palace.
I guess the only thing I'll say about why, we were talking about Ricky rolling this seed. I'm not superstitious about who rolls this seed, but I will point out that it's funny that he's gone and run off before this seed finished. We couldn't grill him for it.
He was getting his revenge on me for me eliminating him in the last round.
But yeah, even when you get the really bad seeds that get really obnoxious in the end, somebody still has to win it. So you got to be good at the fast ones. You got to be good at the awful slogs too.
Yeah, Ricky won this seed. That's who won this one. Ricky won it. But GG's, man. Good luck. I'll be rooting for you to get into the championship game at least.
Thanks, Wimpy. I'm going to have a tough opponent next week, that's for sure.
Yeah, thank you both once again for putting on the show today. Again, I think we've all kind of come to the conclusion that the seed was the real winner here, but Garrison, you are the runner who's going to be moving on to the quarterfinals, the round of 8.
I don't know how this is happening, but I'll accept it. I'll keep practicing to make sure that I can continue to put on a show, win or lose.
Yep, you'll be looking to face off against the winner of Kantos versus Mr. Scruff Ninja Tuna. So I don't believe we have any games in that. We certainly don't have a final outcome of it yet. So you've got a little time on your hands yet before you're actually going to have an opponent to face.
And it's going to be a tough matchup either way. They don't watch those games just to not necessarily figure out how each one of them routes, just to kind of psych myself up to get myself in the mindset to play as well as I can.
That sounds like a great headspace to be in to me. So, Beer, do you have any final words here?
No, just congratulations on advancing, and congrats on both of you finishing this trash pile, or getting through the slog of what it was. Good luck in your future matches.
Thank you.
With that, before I turn this over to VXR for a few final words from the Zelda Speedruns staff, I will say thank you once again for everybody coming out, giving us a couple of hours of your time. I hope you really enjoyed the race. Our runners today were WGarrison, our winner, moving on to the round of 8, those quarterfinal matchups, and Worldwide Wimpy. Our tracker today was P. We'll get his link up here in just a moment. And commentating with me was Homemade Beer. I am, in fact, my own DM. And this is VXR441 coming on for a few final and closing words.
All right. We got another Challenge Cup match over on the main CSR channel. We're going to go right over there once I'm done. Tomorrow we got a few things on the schedule, starting with a Skyward Sword randomizer race at 3 p.m. Eastern, a Wind Waker randomizer Season 4 tournament match at 6 p.m. Eastern, and then at 7 p.m. Eastern, we have the Ocarina of Time randomizer Freaky Friday race, and the settings for that race is inspired by the ALTTP Cross Keys mode. So it'll be really interesting there. And we're gonna go say hi to ZeldaSpeedRuns. Main. See you next time, everyone.